All right, we are in it. Um, Live here on National Championship Monday. Uh, what we got? About 2 hours for tip, something like that.
Yeah, about it'd be 2 hours, almost close to 2 hours
So we're
before
coming
tip.
up on it. But yeah, that should be a good one tonight with Houston and Florida, and we'll do some talking about how we got there and or how we got to that matchup and preview what's coming and obviously recap Saturday at the Final Four and two incredible games. Obviously, like we've been talking about for a while, pretty chalky tournament, but I'd say it led to two pretty awesome games there in the Final Four. And I'd say, I mean, if there's any solace in Auburn's loss, I'm glad we're not the story because I think Duke is certainly going to be a story, and Duke they're going to have a lot more to dwell on, I guess, than Auburn will.
Hmm.
And it is nice. Like nobody's talking about Auburn. I kind of love it that way. Like we don't have to deal with all the nobody. It's all about Duke. They went ahead and just took all the attention away from us, so we don't have to have it shoved in our face that we didn't get it done. Also, right now, I don't know if you've been keeping up today, but the House settlement ruling on the lawsuits against the NCAA and the revenue sharing model that's incoming and all that has been ongoing today. Jeff Berzello, let me fact check to see who's been. I believe it's Borzello, but let me fact check to see who's been posting those updates. Oh, it's Ross Dellinger. I'm sorry, who's been posting those updates. But that's along with the Final Four and national championship. That could be a landmark week in college athletics. So, uh, decent amount to talk about here. But how you doing tonight? You ready for the Natty?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready tonight. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Uh, it's the matchup I wanted to see. Just the contrast in styles of Florida, the running gun attack of Florida, and uh, Houston's lockdown defense. And we'll kind of get into that in a minute, but just kind of it was a instant classic Final Four. And like you said, Auburn did not have the most embarrassing loss. That was just a great game all around. Um, we'll get into Duke's collapse there at the end, but it's going to be a great night of basketball. Obviously, neither of us have salt in the game. Although the if Florida wins, I win our bracket pool,
So I guess
and
you do have
300.
something to root
Yeah,
for.
I do have something to root for.
Yeah.
So I've been since Purdue's been eliminated. I've been like rooting for the national championship to go my way.
Dude,
But
I don't know how tournament challenge they got to redo that scoring system because I don't I like I understand picking the final four and champion should be worth a lot, but I don't think you should just if the rest of your bracket is good, I don't think you should go from first to last just because you didn't get all of the final four.
well, I mean that's
Like,
that's typically how I do in the tournament. I do poorly in the first couple rounds, and then at the end I have all the uh, game like the deeper games picked right for the
yeah,
most part. I
yeah, that's kind
know.
of the opposite for mine. But I mean, I had two of the final four, and both of the two I had lost. So
I think I had it. I think I had a similar situation in like 2014, 15 when it was Wisconsin versus Duke in the championship. I had Wisconsin over that Kentucky team that was absolutely loaded. Everyone was picking them to be the national championship, and I said Wisconsin, Frank Kaminsky are going to get them. And that's what ended up happening. So
oh yeah, well like we said, definitely a hell. Last I talked to you, you weren't going to watch. I guess you ended up watching.
yeah, well I was just
Shocker.
well I was watching for mostly for the $300, but I mean Florida's a fun team to watch, and so is Houston. I'm not really big on Duke. Auburn's they have fun. Janai Broom's a talent. So
You were talking shit about my boy Chad on Twitter earlier, by the way.
that was
I
a
had to
joke.
fucking I had to get you. I had to get you for that, man. I'm fucking sensitive right now. I'm still fucking butthurt. Like, anytime anybody's talking shit about my guys, I'm gonna come out and defend them, even if it's
Well,
you.
because I was just thinking about it. I've been almost been out of college for 3 years now, so it's like, dang, he's 25. It's just like,
Yeah, I had to get your facts straight. He didn't even move to America till he was 20. So like, come on, give him a break. Like, he moved here when he was. That's been a story. Oh, he's fucking 20. He's gonna be 26. Chad Baker Mazzara, for anybody who doesn't know, he moved to America from the Dominican Republic when he was 20 and didn't speak English when he moved here. So like, and also has a JUCO year because we remember the Diego Pavia ruling earlier this year. So like, all that put together, I don't see how it's unreasonable for him to still be in school, considering he didn't even move to this country till he was 20. So I had to defend my boy's honor there, but hopefully he'll be back next year, and hopefully Todd Pettiford will be as well because he put his name in the draft process today. But hoping he comes back.
I, apparently he's a projected first rounder, so I don't see that one happening.
You don't think he'll be back?
I don't think so. If you're like nowadays, if you're a projected first rounder, usually they stay in the draft.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen some drafts with him sneaking into the
Hmm.
first round, and I've seen others. Like I think ESPN posted they had him like 39th on
Hmm.
their big board. So I don't know, but I mean, you think about it from his perspective, it's like he could go in and be a second round pick, probably maybe a late first round pick. But like if Todd comes back next year, like he'll be a lottery pick next year if he comes back. I think so. I think getting his bag from Auburn and spending one more year in school and improving his draft stock would be the move. But love the guy regardless. Just hope he gives it one more run. I don't want to see him on a two-way deal wasting away. I feel like he has enough talent. If he can come back and improve his stock a little bit, he can jump his way up into the lottery range and get himself a guaranteed deal and not a two-way.
I could. I really. It just depends on what his draft status is. If he's first round, I'd say he goes. If he second round, he comes back. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of been the
Well, he'll be
consensus,
right
unless
on
you're a
that border.
senior.
He'll
Yeah.
he'll be right on that borderline range of like first, second round. So like, there's no way of knowing for sure. But I guess we'll get into it and talk some games, and we'll
Hmm.
start with the Auburn Florida game. But man, Auburn came out swinging and played a great first half. Man, led by 8 at halftime.
Hmm.
Auburn's 25-0 when leading by 5 or more at halftime this year, and this is the first loss, and unfortunately the one they couldn't lose. Yeah, it sucks, man. I don't. I think yeah, they came out hot in the first half, but ultimately, like, there's a lot of things you can point to, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's like Clayton was just too good. He couldn't
Yeah.
miss, and I'll have to get your perspective and Matt when he jumps in here too, because you guys were watching the game on TV, and I didn't really notice it from where I was, but a lot of stuff I've been reading and listening to, like saying like Janai looked pretty banged up and uncomfortable in the second half, and he didn't he didn't score or
Hmm.
didn't make a shot from the field for the last 15 minutes. So I mean, yeah, it sucks, but I mean, we went out on our sword. What else can you ask for? I Yeah, I mean, it's not
I
like
th-
it was some like heart. It wasn't the Virginia double dribble situation, or it wasn't like we were
hmm.
Duke and completely
Hmm.
choked this thing away. I think we just got beat by Florida. Was the better team on
Hmm.
Saturday night, and they took care of
Hmm.
business. And that's the way it goes sometimes. It's the Final Four, and these are four damn good teams, and that's just how it went.
Hmm.
But what do you think of that one?
I think it was the tale of two halves for Auburn and Florida. Florida, of course, Clayton got his in the first half, but the rest of the team just kind of their shots weren't falling. A lot of bad shot takes. It was a more physical game in the first half, which shoots Auburn more. Second half, it turned more into up and down affair, sort of the pace Florida likes to play at, and of course Clayton took over, just went absolutely insane. Like I've been talking about, the only person I can compare Clayton to, like in a tournament setting, maybe is Carson Edwards. That Virginia game, that it was sort of like that tournament in 2019. I mean, Campbell Walker too. I know Matt had mentioned that, but like he just took over the game in the second half, and a lot of the physicality. It kind of ratcheted up towards the end. A lot more fouls were being called both ways. There was some inconsistent refereeing in the game. Like there's some wild stuff. Like
I felt like they were the second half. It was just whistle after whistle. I don't
yeah, that I don't know if you saw the floor. It went for Auburn, but the like block they called a foul on a block where it was all ball.
Um,
I don't know if
which
you saw
one?
that one.
Which
Where
one?
it was towards the end of the game. They
Yeah, I don't remember specifically which one you're referring. You said it was against Auburn, or
No, it was against Florida.
it was against
The call
Florida.
was against Florida. That might have been the worst call of the game because he blocked the ball air and they called a foul. Like I have to pull it. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up Florida bad foul.
But I mean, it felt like there was a lot of whistles in the second
Yeah,
half. Like I said, I don't remember each specific play off the top of my head, but I don't know. Like of all things, it felt like there was probably bad calls going each way, and the refs were just blowing the whistle and everything in the second half, and like, so I mean, it is what it is. It's like on the list of top 10 things I'm disappointed about. I didn't really look at the officiating in this one as like a big reason why Auburn lost or anything. Like,
no, that's not why Auburn lost. It was just the game, the play style in the second half, the flow of the game. Auburn started rushing shots, kind of the teams switched sides, kind of how they were playing. I know Auburn committed a lot more turnovers in the second half.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
we were just turning the ball over in the second half.
yeah,
We weren't rebound. We were doing a great job rebounding in the first half, and I mean that's how Florida got us the first
mhm.
time. Is I mean they have some great big men, and they just took advantage of us on the glass in the first game. Yeah, thumbs down. That's accurate. They just took advantage of us on the boards in the second half, like much like they did in the first matchup back in February. And the first half, it seemed like we were doing a great job mitigating that, and they just kind of they got some crucial boards in the second half that that ended up turning the tides. Like they had a couple times that they got offensive boards and got it out to Clayton for threes, and I mean those are just backbreakers there. You can't give those up. And um, yeah, I don't know. It was just a disappointing one.
I do gotta mention the one play for Elijah Martin on Florida. He may have had the dunk of the year, where he like I have to pull. I'm have to pull up Elijah Martin's dunk.
What was So I still haven't gone back and watched replays or anything. What was up with the flagrant on Chinyelu? Because they didn't even show the replay on the screen. Like what happened there?
I think he elbowed his head. I think he like when he went up he elbowed back.
It was. I've been wondering
Like he
what was
went
up
up
with
and
that because they didn't show the replay in the stadium or anything. So I hadn't gotten to see like what went on with that
it
one.
it really wasn't a dirty play. It's just kind of one of those where it's like they call the contact because it was a contact to the head, so they
Yeah.
called the flagrant. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't really a controversial call or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hadn't seen what went on with
Mm-hmm.
that. Oh, here's Matt.
Let me
We
find the
got
light.
welcome in, Matt.
Guys, how's it going?
Doing good.
I've been better, but it is what it is. We're talking about we're the Florida Auburn game right now. So, like we said, I'll backfill you on what me and Jacob have been saying, but definitely just a tale of two halves, and like I haven't gone back. So, and I asked Jacob, and I'll get your perspective too, because um, I couldn't really tell this was going on from it being in person, but a lot of the podcasts I've listened to and people I've heard talking about it have been saying like Janai looked pretty banged up in the second half, and I couldn't tell that in person. I didn't know if it was just Florida shutting him down but there was a lot of people saying that he looked uncomfortable in the second half, and they think that's what really cost Auburn. I couldn't tell that from my perspective, but I was asking Jacob, and I'll ask you too, like how that came across to you.
He definitely wasn't 100%. It's not the same Janai who, kind of dragged Auburn there type thing. However, I will say he still played pretty well, all things considered. Thought he played a good game. And Florida definitely, we've talked about this before, has the bigs who can, take someone like him out of the game, kind of. And despite that, I thought the Auburn bigs did play really well. I don't think they were really bad by any means. I just think, Florida is just overall a better team, and that kind of showed. But yeah, I think that, Janai was having his way for some of the game there, and Auburn had a matchup down low that they could get to, whenever they wanted this game, but they opted to stay home on the shooters. Florida did, and ultimately was the right decision. They forced Auburn into some pretty rough shots. I thought the Auburn shot selection in the second half was not good.
I told the guys after the game ended on Saturday, and like what it looked like to me is like some of these possessions Auburn had in the second half, it just looked like there wasn't a sense of urgency, and it would get low down in the shot clock, and they like hadn't advanced it at all. Like they're still in the half court, like behind 3-point line, like trying to set something up, and there's 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Like I can't tell you how many times like in the stands there'd be like 10 seconds left on the shot clock, and they're just like somebody's dribbling around, and I'm like, go, like get to the basket, like like I don't know. It felt like they were just taking a lot of time, like too much time to like set things up, and this like I don't know if they were like they had a lead and they were trying to like sit on the ball and like drain the clock, or it was like I don't know what it was. It just felt like there wasn't a real like sense of urgency. I mean, it's kind of similar to how Duke played down the stretch, honestly, where it's like there wasn't just like a great like sense of urgency to like make stuff happen, and we were just setting things up way too like way too low in the shot clock, and then just weren't getting great shots off at the end of possessions. I don't know, like
Yeah, Florida
it,
definitely they really sped up the game in the second half. That was kind of something they clearly wanted to do. And Auburn was not really willing to play at that same pace. Either, there were times where Auburn, the possessions were not rushed enough, not rushed in the sense, there's not as much urgency there. And the Auburn transition game, I thought offensively was bad. It was bad in the second half. Some of the transition threes that they took, it's just really out of character for them.
There was one. There was one. They were. I think we were up by one or down by one, and there was one we got a steal, and then Miles Kelly was on a fast break,
yeah,
and he shot one from the corner like so, and he had a clear path to the basket too, and he stepped back and shot a corner three like in the fast break, and it and missed it, and it was just like it felt like Auburn had finally gotten some momentum back, and then like that one shot stuck with me in particular because I think it might have been the one that set up the Martin dunk, like like that might have come right
yeah.
after that, and I was just like he could have just walked to the basket and gotten the easy one, and he stepped back and took a three in transition, and I was just like oh like that was a real
Yeah.
backbreaker.
Yeah, I mean, just, some of those shots were not falling for them in the second half, especially, and some of them were rushed. Either took bad shots where they didn't have rebounders underneath, and then they took shots that allowed them to get transitioned on immediately. So, that was an area where I mean, I thought Todd Golden coached a really good game. I thought he probably got the better of the Auburn staff this time. And yeah, that was just you know, speeding up the game. They got a switch on to Clayton every time that they wanted. And yeah, it was you know,
I didn't see it that way. I was talking to Jacob about that before I did see there was a tweet that was like it was like Todd Golden coach circles around Bruce Pearl, and it's just
I
like
wouldn't say circles. I mean, they didn't make shots.
I don't think
like straight up, they didn't make enough shots.
And Walter Clayton Jr. shot over 50% on contested threes, and it's like that's not coaching. That's just Walter. I mean, that's just hat tip to Walter Clayton Jr. for playing amazing. But I was just like, what did Todd Golden just tell him to go out and make a lot of contested threes? Like, is that coaching or is that just a guy playing out of his mind?
I mean, they got him the ball. I know Auburn was playing really great defense for a lot of the game, and he still got the ball. Like, it was just a great performance.
Yeah.
I know the second half, I think Todd Golden really executed his game plan to perfection because they sped the game up, like Matt was saying. That's what I was kind of talking about before you came in here. Like, it was a tale of two halves. Florida's big men didn't play great in the first half. They weren't going. And the second half, I think Auburn's guards just kind of lost track of the pace of the game a lot of the time. Florida's guards took over, and that won't stretch to come back. And is Matt?
Yeah, I think he lost connection or something.
Yeah.
I've been hearing him try to talk while you've been talking though. Hold on, Matt. You might need to try to rejoin or something. If you can hear
You're
us.
Frozen.
Hold on. Let me see if. Yeah. Okay. He'll try to rejoin. I see. Is this the dunk? Did you want to show?
Yeah, I had the dunk pulled up just because it was such a great. It's a like, even being an Auburn fan, I mean, that's an impressive dunk.
And I believe, like I said, like Miles Kelly shot that transition, or no, I guess it wasn't. But
I don't know how that wasn't an and one.
Bro,
that's enough. That's enough of that.
I love some Bill Rafferty.
Yeah.
Did he have an onions moment? I forget.
Yeah.
With Walter Clayton.
I don't think so. Well, the Hawk one the end one he had, that was one. But yeah, that was a highlight reel if it never seen one. But yeah, that I was gonna say the tough task for the Auburn guards. None of those guys. It was kind of tough because it's kind of been the weakness for the Auburn guards all season that they don't create shots for themselves very well. Besides Pettiford, and you know, I do not like Chad Baker-Mazara. I rag on him a lot, but I thought he was probably Auburn's best guy in that game. He played a really good game. And yeah, Pettiford just could not create anything this game. And
he didn't have a good game.
Ultimately, without Pettiford and his shot creation, that's kind of what has really elevated their guard play throughout the tournament. And without him doing that, they didn't really have a lot to go, lean on at the guard spot if, Kelly and Denver Jones were not making shots. So,
well, I did think, and you were talking about that, and I thought like one mistake Bruce might have made in the second half was I think he left Pettiford in way too long. And if you don't have Denver out there, like one of the best defenders in the country to step out and try to contest these shots on Clayton, I thought he left Pettiford in and left Denver on the bench way too long. And that was a huge advantage.
Yeah, and Pettiford was poor on defense, like committed 3 fouls this game and just did not guard great. And that's not his comfort zone. That's not what Auburn really needs him to be doing. But yeah, he was, unfortunately for them, they did not get a good enough game out of Pettiford to really give them what they needed. So that was ultimately it's not as if they, there's not really some statistical anomaly or anything else. It's just like, one team had Walter Clayton, another team didn't, and yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to sometimes. That's been the case at everyone that Florida's played in the tournament. But yeah, that really good basketball game, I got to say, and yeah, just ultimately not enough shots were falling from Auburn from three. I don't know how many shots Pettiford made on the game, but it couldn't have been more than one.
No,
I think he made one.
he
Yeah,
had
so
7 points and 1 field goal. So
I mean, like
yes.
you mentioned though, Chad Baker Mazzara was like he was. I mean, he was the only. He really kept Auburn in this game though. Like he was Auburn's best player in this
he
game.
hit some
Like,
wild threes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
mean
close down to the
between
very end.
between Baker Mazzara and Dylan Cardwell, I thought those were the two best Auburn guys in this game. Dylan Cardwell did a lot that didn't show up on a stat sheet for Auburn, but I thought he played a really good game as well.
that's been the
So
Dylan Cardwell story for 4 years.
yeah,
Like
so he was great. I thought he played a really good game, and kind of, Condon was poor for Florida. He didn't really do very much for them at all. He had matchups and didn't really attack them. So I don't know if that's going to be any different for tonight. But yeah, I thought the bigs for Auburn were not really the problem. It was just the guards, and they could not really get it. As you had said before, Jacob, they couldn't really read the pace of the game really well. They didn't really run the offense great. So that was one of the issues. And yeah, just once it got to that 49-40 score, and then the Florida Avalanche kind of started. Yeah, Auburn just never really adjusted much or did anything to combat what Florida was doing offensively, and yeah, that was it. So really good basketball game. I don't this is kind of the I was kind of thinking to myself like, well, if this is the Final Four every year, if it's chalk, that's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, just all in all, Janai was definitely not healthy. I think that's one thing that Auburn fans can, not to make excuses, obviously, but he was not 100%. And I think that matters. Like, when, arguably the best player in that game is not 100%, that's going to affect the outcome. And, that's ultimately, yeah, between that and the Auburn guards, they just, didn't have it that day.
I know it was a close game. I think the play that decided the game more than anything was the Chad Baker Mazzara travel, the where he shot the three and came down and tried to shoot it again.
That was one
that was the backbreaker.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. There were a few of them that I was, just like every time, like, and I don't really know, like they might tonight. Houston might, send doubles at Clayton tonight, but I think they were a little just comfortable with like, well, if he makes the shots, then he makes the shots, and he's going to beat us. And it's kind of like I don't know when a team's going to do it, but just like no, like this guy's not going to beat us, and it's going to have to be somebody else. And Auburn's a good enough team that they might not have felt like they had to do that. But yeah, I think that might be one maybe tiny regret they have from that game, that once it's like 69-68 and 3 minutes game, just just gotta make somebody else beat you there, because it was the ball's in Clayton's hands and it's all him the rest of the way. So yeah, I would be interested to see if Houston tries something with that and tries to force the ball out of his hands and see what they can do, because if they don't, they're going to lose, just straight up.
yeah. But yeah, I guess we can get on to that. But before we get on to the other game, I just wanted to take a minute, like, as an Auburn fan at the end of the season, just like if I can get a minute just to give these guys their flowers, though, because it's like, what, like, win or lose on Saturday, like, I think the best tweet I saw from an Auburn person was a tweet that said, like, I'm not upset they lost, I'm sad it's over. And like that's like an honest, like, this team was so fun, and like a lot of these guys are going to be gone, and it's just there's like just what an amazing ride. Like what a fun team. What a great group of guys. It was an absolute pleasure being able to root for these guys and be along for that ride all year. And just some of these dudes in particular, like just to give them their like we mentioned Dylan Cardwell and like he's Dylan Cardwell is the embodiment of of the Auburn spirit, like what it means to be an Auburn Tiger. Like he represented the university so well during his time here. I can't say enough incredible things about Cardwell and the man he is, how he represented the university, like in victory and defeat. Like he was just always an anchor for Auburn, and just what an amazing human. And like I don't know what his basketball future is, and whether it's somewhere in the NBA or at G League, overseas, wherever it is. It's like whatever he ends up doing, I hope to see Dylan Cardwell back at Auburn someday. And like I can't say enough amazing things about him. And like Broom, obviously, like he came to Auburn from Morehead State, and just he's the greatest player to ever wear an Auburn uniform. Like uh, just as far as like what like his tenure here and what he accomplished at Auburn. Um, Definitely, like nobody else at Auburn should ever wear the number 4 again, for sure. Like he's an incredible player. Um, he's going to go on and play in the NBA for sure. Going to miss having him, but just what an awesome ride with him and seeing his development from a 0-star recruit at Morehead State, and Bruce brought him here, and then seeing how his game has developed and like the player he's turned into the last 3 years. And then there's more guys like Chris Moore is a guy, like he didn't play a ton, but he was like the leader in the locker room for this team. He's the winningest player in Auburn basketball history. Um, just he's an amazing guy. Like he was really the glue that held this team together. So shout out to Chris Moore on like they had an event yesterday with the team coming back to Auburn, and he was emotional at that. And he's not a guy like a lot of people are going to give attention to, but he really was the glue of this team. Like I said, winningest player in Auburn basketball history. So him, yeah, and then there's more guys. Like Denver Jones came here from Florida International, Alabama guy, came home, and he was awesome here for 2 years. Miles Kelly was incredible this year. I think Miles Kelly was better than anybody expected him to be, even this coaching staff. And then the list goes on, but just shout out to all these guys. Like Chad's probably going to be back, but like, so I won't say, I'm not going to sit, write the obituary for him because I think he's going to be back and give it one more year. Same with Pettiford. Like, I think he's going to test the NBA waters and decide to come back. And just so many amazing guys on this team. And there was a lot of discussion on Twitter about the call God stuff and people like mocking Auburn for that after the game, and like saying like Auburn just used that to taunt teams and stuff. And like I didn't like that at all, because anybody who knows anything about this team, like they played for him and they played in God's name, and then they walked the walk. That was not just a taunt or a mock or anything like that. They were about that. Like this team had Bible studies all the time. All the players went to it. They had prayer circles after every game, win or loss. Like they played for him and in God's name, and that was a real thing for this team and these guys. And like just yeah, I know I'm rambling on, but I'm just so proud of this team and so proud to be a fan. It was an incredible ride, and I can't say enough great things about them, and wanted to make sure I gave them their flowers, because it's a season that none of us will ever forget for sure. And I'm I know that it came up short, but I'm damn proud these guys and who they are and how they represented Auburn, and I will never forget this team.
So I have a
Hey,
question. One of the questions I have, you had mentioned before, I think a couple weeks ago or maybe before the Final Four this season was a success, win or lose if they made the Final Four. Is that still the same? Do you feel the same way about that?
Absolutely. I don't know how you view it as anything but that. It's like you had the greatest season in program history, won the outright SEC in the most competitive league of all time, number one overall seed, most quad one wins of all time. I think I mean all you can go down the list of accolades. Like if Janai Broome doesn't get hurt, he's probably National Player of the Year. He won some national. There's 18 different National
Yeah, I
Player of the
know.
Year
I can't
awards.
keep
He
up
won
with it.
some of
Yeah.
them. So I mean, like you know, Bruce Pearl had to share Coach of the Year with Pitino, which was not my favorite thing, but won the Maui Invitational and an absolutely loaded Maui field this year. Um, yeah, and ran it all the way to the Final Four and like didn't by no means an easy path to the Final Four. You had to beat a great Creighton team, like the Big Ten tournament champions in Michigan, the outright Big Ten champions in Michigan State, and played a great Florida team and like went out on your sword and went toe to toe with them. Like I don't know how you view it as anything but a success. I'm not, especially as like the sting of this loss wears off and time goes on. I like this was one of the most fun seasons of my life, and this team made us so proud. Like 100% a resounding success of the season. Like there's no disappointment and don't feel like they left anything on the table or anything. Like they didn't completely blow that game or anything. Like sometimes you just get beat and that's life. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
yeah, and you
100% a
said
success.
before, like in our group chat, like, well, that sucks, but didn't lose how Duke lost, kind of thing.
Right.
So
That
yeah,
helps a lot.
maybe it's a
That
different conversation if that were the case.
if we lost
But
how Duke lost, that would definitely sting.
yeah,
But
that's those losses like that hurt 100 times more than when you just get beat by the better team. Like,
this is, and I'm sure everybody feels this way about their teams. Like I'm sure Duke fans feel the same way about their team, and I was like talking about it a lot. But like the most proud thing of this season that I will remember is just like this team and the bond they had and how they represented Auburn and like the people they were. Like this truly felt like a close, tight knit team of great human beings that represented Auburn well, and like I said, like they played for Auburn. They played in God's name. And they're just some outstanding human beings. And a lot of them are going to be gone after this year now. But and I'm sure everybody feels that way about their team at the end of the year. It's like, oh, I love this group, but this truly did feel like a special group of guys, and they got a team with outstanding character, and they got the right group of people together, and they're led by an outstanding man in Bruce Pearl. I can't say enough just nice things about them, and like this season is like I will always remember this season as one of the most fun seasons of my life, and without a doubt a successful one.
I mean,
yeah, I don't blame you.
I can relate. I was the same way last year, with Purdue when we made going to the national championship. You know, you got to the Final Four. If you make the Final Four, your season is a success, regardless win or lose. And you know,
There's to show how much there's a lot of Auburn fans talking, and I feel like it's something that might actually happen where how schools have like different awards that they give to like student athletes for and they'll like name them after different people, and like they're people who like represent the school well and embody like great character and good academics and athletics and represent everything well. And there's a lot of people who want Auburn to like and to honor Dylan Cardwell, to have like a Dylan Cardwell award and give it to this student athlete that embodies the Auburn spirit the best, and it has great academics and athletics and just represents the school with class. And I think that'd be a great honor to him. And I don't I hope. I don't know what the process, like how Auburn decides, like what numbers to retire and statues and stuff. But I definitely think like Janai Broom and Dylan Cardwell should have their numbers in the rafters at Neville Arena. Like Dylan Cardwell for just who he is and what he meant to Auburn, and then Janai Broom for just being the best player to ever wear an Auburn uniform. Like I wouldn't even like Janai. I wouldn't even be opposed to giving Janai a statue outside the arena. I mean, I know he didn't win National Player of the Year, but I mean, because Barkley has a statue, and then Cam and Pat Sullivan and Bo Jackson have football ones, and like, I definitely think Janai has been great enough at Auburn that would be an honor he certainly deserves.
He'd definitely be on a Mount Rushmore of Auburn athletes, or at least basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I know I'm rambling about Auburn a lot, and if you guys are ready to move on, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure I went out of my way to give this team their flowers, because there's no you're disappointed you lost, but like yeah, there's no like you don't walk away from this season being like, well, that sucked or anything. That was just it's tough. That's sports, man. But yeah, I guess we shall move on from that and talk Duke Houston and what like I say, I'm glad we're not the story of the night. That's what makes it nice, is like nobody's talking about Auburn after Saturday. Everybody's just like, "Yep, good season, Auburn. Let's talk about Duke and that
Yeah,
collapse." I'm glad we're not the like. I mean, we had this in 19 in the double dribble game and everything. Like we were the story of that and the collapse there, and we were also in that Final Four. I felt like we were the best team of those four at that. I mean, we were the hottest team in college basketball that year for the last 2 months of the season, and let that one slip through our hands. So, like, I've been on what Duke is feeling now. Like, as Auburn fans, we've been on that side of that in 2019. So, like, we know what it feels like. Um, and yeah, that's just brutal loss for Duke. And I don't like Duke at all, but like even I feel gutted for Duke, and even not as a guy who likes Duke, and especially for like for Cooper Flagg in particular, like with how great a season he had, and like he's going to go on and have a great NBA
Played a
career.
great game.
Played an
did.
outstanding
He did
game.
play a
Yeah.
great game.
And for he's gonna the fact that this is kind of gonna be like what his college career is remembered for, is like him missing that shot late, and then that I didn't in the arena it looked like the right call at the time, but like the more I saw replays and stuff, I really didn't like that over the back. Like just objectively, I think that was a soft call to make in that moment. I really didn't like that call at all.
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because Houston still would have had the ball regardless because
I mean,
the
I do
Houston
agree
player got
with
the ball.
you there, though. Like, make them make a shot to beat you, kind of thing. Like, don't bail them out with that kind of call. I was watching with a couple people who, one of them was like, that's a foul. They were cheering for Duke. They're like, that's a foul. I was like, I don't know. That guy was like waiting to make that call, like when it happened. Yeah, it sucks all around for Flagg, especially because without him, I mean, Duke probably gets run off the floor in this game.
Yeah.
Bro,
Like
I'm like this game, like Houston, they were playing great defense the whole game. Even like on Cooper Flagg at the start, they kind of let Cooper Flagg get his shot. They adjusted to the perimeter, but that Cooper Flagg, like he kind of pulled a anti-Christian Leitner at the end.
The craziest thing in this game, though, Kaman Malawach, 0 rebounds, 7-2, like one of the best
well,
bigs
not
in the
only that,
country.
he was a
Rebounds.
minus 20 on the game.
Yeah,
And
like
just like he really contributed next to nothing besides like making a couple free throws. I think he might have had an assist, but Yeah, he was the guy who, I mean, and at the beginning of the game, I do think he made an impact because Houston made it very clear. They were like, we are not going to test him at the rim. We're not going to, we're not going to entertain this. Like they are comfortable. They're comfortable taking, their jump shots, and really the threes were the only thing that kept Houston in the game in the beginning of that game. That game was pretty much wraps unless Houston made some of those shots, and they did. And yeah, defensively, they really did not ratchet it up until the last 15 of that game. Like that's when they really decided it's time. Flag made the jumper, he made the three, and then after that they clamped him. They didn't make a shot the rest of the game.
It was wasn't it 13 minutes without a shot? Or was it
I think
10
it was
minutes?
10 there. Yeah, 10. I think it was 10 full minutes. Because Cooper Flag at 10 and a half minutes. Made a jumper. Opposite rebound there, and
he made that three with 3 minutes to go, and that was their only other field goal of the game.
That was it, and that was all the Houston defense. And I do think there's an element of I think John Shire's a good coach. But I think this mostly should fall on his shoulders more than Cooper Flag or anyone who particularly played in that game. Just no adjustments. Houston just was, and dictated. I thought this is a game that I thought Kelvin Sampson coached circles around John Shire. I don't know if that's true for the first game, but I do think Kelvin Sampson pants John Shire badly. In particularly, I don't think Duke prepared for as soon as Tugler inexplicably reaches on the inbound and goes to steal the ball on the inbound pass, which that's crazy.
I thought the game was over at that point.
Yes, at that point the game should be done. And it should have been done at multiple other points, but especially at that point, 1:14 left in the game. That should be it. You got your technical, and that should be that. And then, from there, you get the sharp three. And then I thought the next, Houston after that, I think most people who are coaching in that situation are probably okay, these are really young guys. We're just going to send them to the free throw line, count on the nerves, and let's see if they miss kind of thing. And Houston was just we're going to defend this out. This team hasn't scored in 10 minutes. They haven't made a shot. So, we're going to defend the entire possession. And, to their credit, that they did. And, really battened it down. And for Houston, it's kind of how are the refs going to do this today? Because there were some times under the basket, especially on loose balls, Houston was just mugging the shit out of whoever was near him. And that really changed the game. Just the last 15 minutes of that Houston defense, and the shot making by Houston down the stretch as well. Sharp making that three. Without him making that three, they probably are not in that game. And then got to get the steal. I was watching. I don't know if you guys were really paying attention. Particularly, Sion James for Duke, he hit his head on the floor. Definitely was concussed the whole remainder of that game. And he is inbounding the ball like an idiot, like a clown. It looked horrible in real time. I don't know how it looked during the game, but.
I was gonna say I think this game had an element. I knew this was gonna be the deciding factor in the game, was the experience versus the inexperience of Duke, especially in those clutch situations at the end where defense is just swarming to the ball. You knew at a point Houston was going to turn it on from three. The first half they didn't shoot great at all. They hit a few threes.
But that was really the only reason. They were 50% for three in the first half. So that was really the only reason they were in the game.
I figured the way for Houston to win was LJ Cryer's got to get going early. He did. He had 26 points in this game. They kind of didn't follow the blueprint. Duke didn't really play a great defensive game. Houston just wasn't making their shots that they usually make. And down the stretch, I think Duke just kind of lulled to sleep. They kind of weren't ready for that that switch, turn on that. What? Matt, can you hear her?
No. Yeah.
Travis, you're muted.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I that was the same kind of thing. They definitely like got lazy, and most of the shots they were taking just, settled for a lot. And biggest thing, Houston was not forcing any turnovers in the first half as much as they usually do. And then second half of that game, they really got into Duke, forced some ridiculous turnovers, and scored off all of them. Like every turnover that they had, turned into points for Houston, and that ended up really costing Duke there down the stretch.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I said I was saying when I was muted, it felt like Duke was just trying to run the clock out.
They were.
Yeah,
playing not
it
to
felt
lose.
And that's
The old adage.
what Jacob was alluding to, and you see this a lot in March. It's like this was an experienced Houston team with some absolute fucking junkyard dogs on that team that they play tough. They're physical as shit. They don't go away. Just some absolute dogs over there versus a team that's young and inexperienced and hasn't been here before. And Houston is just relentless. You have to kill them for them to go away. They don't go away. They don't quit. And Sampson, and it's a coaching thing too, where you have a coach who's been here before versus a coach who hasn't been here before. And Houston was relentless. They didn't go away. And Sampson, I thought, coached circles around Shire in the last 15 or so minutes of that game.
I mean, and still the look, some of the subs, why is Mason Gillis playing? I have no idea why he's in that game. He did nothing and cost them what? Didn't he get a technical or flagrant? Why is he in the game? Malik Brown, I don't know how much he could have played physically, but he was really good when he was out there. I don't know why he didn't play more. And yeah, just James inbounding the ball. What are we doing? They could not draw up one press break or one inbound that could have gotten someone on the free throw line to help them win that game. Yeah, and that's inexcusable. And again, I like John Shire, but it's happened the whole season. Every game that Duke lost, they've been really close games on the stretch where they've really lacked execution. And the game at Clemson, especially, which they probably should not have lost, but they did, and people blame it on Cooper Flagg sweating profusely. But that's it's just more than that. They haven't yet to crack that. They were not great in close games all season, and I think this is where I'm not going to bail them out. They were just really, really bad down the stretch. It might not be as complicated as well, they played in a shit conference all season. They weren't really tested until this game.
And that's exactly I feel like playing in the Toy Poodle League, as Kelvin Sampson alluded to. I feel like playing in that, which was hilarious, but I feel I
can't believe he said that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, William Luke read me that quote, and I thought it was fake. That's
yeah.
I was and then I heard it. I was like, well, he actually said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing that and dominating the ACC and not having to play these tight, grinded out games, especially just versus a tough ass team like Houston, all year. Duke probably hasn't seen a team that good since they played Auburn back in December. Is that the last time Duke had to play a game like this?
And Duke, and you forget to mention, Duke didn't really have a physical game in their road to the Final Four. They didn't have a team that was
no.
They played a bunch of teams that are just offense only, with Alabama, Arizona,
Baylor.
Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor
I mean, I think the more that we say that, I'm not going to excuse them for how, they had this game won. All that stuff aside, all that stuff's correct. Yes, they did not see a team like Houston. They did not see it, but they had won the game. The game is over, and they just literally gave the game away. I still can't really believe that happened the way it did. But yeah, and it's not a like Cooper Flag referendum type thing. He was their best player, and I just, again, like, John Shire, what are you doing? Like, still, despite the no press break, despite the no inbounds, like, all the boneheaded, stupid things they were doing, they still had a chance. Like, they had a chance to, draw something up offensively, and they went with some ridiculous Cooper Flag ISO fadeaway. And that there is no way. Like, they couldn't get him a switch. Like, they couldn't get Juwan Roberts off, and he still took the shot. So I
Yeah, and
don't
you knew Houston was going.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Houston knew that ball was going to Cooper Flag there.
Yes,
So,
and they made no, like, I think they just seriously got a little caught, and that's where I think we didn't play as many teams who could really guard him as well in that situation, because they didn't try and get him a switch, they didn't try and do anything. It was just like, go make something happen. And Cooper Flag's a great player, but like, that's not his strength. Like, isolation scoring is not really where he excels. And Cooper Flag's a great play. He's probably a better playmaker than he is just a straight up score type thing. So again, I don't know why they, just went away from what was working at
just
the lack of inexperience. I think.
It's
crazy. Yeah.
With our, what you say?
You're chopping out again.
Yeah, you're chopping up.
My bad.
Shut up. Can we hear you now? Now we can't hear anything. Hold on.
You
talk now?
Yeah.
Let's see that. Okay, we got you now.
Yeah. But
Juwan Roberts letting his nuts, like the stones on that guy to knock down both of those free throws and then go back down the floor and lock down Cooper Flag, like, just like, that was, dude, like, the absolute in that situation, like, you got to knock down both of those free throws, and then he goes back down and just locks down Cooper Flag, doesn't budge, like, just like. This Houston team, and like, that's why, like, we'll get into the preview in a little bit, but like, I'm picking Houston tonight, man. This team is just fucking tough. Like, you got to kill them. Like, they just don't go away. Like, it isn't like, this team is relentless. There's a reason they've lost one game in regulation this entire season. Like, you have to absolutely bury them for them to go away. And just like in this game against Duke, like, they had, like, Duke had every opportunity to put them away, and they just, like, Houston just hung around. And it felt like every time Houston was, like, cutting into this thing, Duke would get a call or whatever and would just keep control of this thing. But Houston was just relentless, and they play a full 40 minutes, and you have to kill them for them to go away.
I think that's why I picked them to go to the championship. Like, they play tough. Like, they play fundamental basketball. I don't know if you saw the video of that drill they were doing in practice, but I think that's a full, or how would I describe that? Like, an indicator of what they're built on as a team. So
yeah, that ultimately it's still crazy. I don't understand how just full on from Duke how they were able to choke that away how they did, but that's
the power, or the March. That's March Madness.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and for as far as Duke goes, that's a tough one to lose. It kind of is similar to when Wisconsin beat Kentucky in 2015, 10 years ago. That team was undefeated, and most of the Kentucky fans were asking around, like, we are not going to have a team this good again. This was the team we had to do it with, and it's kind of the same type of thing for Duke. Like, I don't know if they'll have a team under Shire this good again. And with that good of an opportunity to win a title, and they basically had this team finished and done, and they couldn't do it. And it'll be a completely different Duke team next year, obviously.
You know what this reminded me a lot of too, and it's in the same building too, was the collapse that Memphis had in 2008 down the stretch against Kansas.
It's similar, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Memphis couldn't make the free throws, and that they took it to overtime, and Kansas took over. So yeah, that is a similar kind of thing. It has that same effect. Like, there aren't many college basketball games that happen that way that you kind of just remember. It's basically like the that Chalmers game, that Kansas game was one. Wisconsin beating Kentucky, maybe Chris Webber's timeout, although I was not watching that live or around for that there. So I think that stuff, those kind of games, that is gonna be with Cooper Flag as long as he's people are gonna be asking him about that game forever, probably, which sucks because he was awesome. Like,
well, and Shire is until he wins a national championship, this is all people are going to talk about with Shire.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's and he's gonna have to if they go back to the Final Four next year, what are all the questions? It's going to be about this, and how do you avoid this happening again? How did this change you? How did you get better from this? But every time he goes back to the Final Four, and whenever until he wins the national championship, he's going to have to hear about this. It's not the kind of loss that just goes away. People are not going to forget this.
Oh, I'm already waiting on whoever's going to write the article. John Shire and Coach K spoke for hours after the game, and now they're back in the Final Four. That kind of that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you're exactly right. John Shire's going to have to answer to that until they win a national championship. And yeah, I mean, Cal had to do it with the Memphis thing, and then he ended up winning 4 years later. But yeah, it's that same kind of thing. And this is it's not a great kind of look for Duke. They've had,
granted, there's we've seen, because I mean, let's put it in perspective too. They were in the Final Four, and it's you can look at Tony Bennett had to answer for how did you lose to a 16 seed UMBC, and he turned around and won a national championship the next year. Matt Painter, sorry Jacob, had to answer for how did you lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, and he turned around and was in the national championship the next year. So we've seen guys with also awful, embarrassing moments real quick get back to where they need to be. So in perspective, it's most coaches are going to have games like this but in perspective, it's this happened in the Final Four. And we've seen guys with worse, losing to a 1 seed, losing to a 16 seed, bounce back from this. So
yeah, I will say this is tougher than those two, I think, only because one, it was that same Virginia team that came back the next year.
Yeah.
It was the same group plus DeAndre Hunter because he didn't play in the UMBC game, and then they won. And then it was basically the same Purdue team that came back the next year and made the national championship game. This is an entirely it's not going to stick with the players as much because all those guys are going to be gone. It's really going to rest on the shoulders of John Shire alone. None of those players are going to have to answer. Con Knippel, Cooper Flag, Malawach, Proctor, all those guys are probably going to be gone. So it's really going to probably be a John Shire question that he's going to have to answer, as long as he's the Duke coach until they win. So, yeah, I mean, there's always something to be said, would they have been better losing in the Elite Eight type thing than in the Final Four? That argument, obviously, yes, of course, you want to make the Final Four, and that's a huge deal for them. I just think for Duke, as the expectations of the program, people are talking about Cooper Flag as the greatest one and done or the greatest freshman of all time, which while Cooper Flag is one of those types of players, I don't think he is the best type thing.
I mean, Carmelo Anthony was there at that game. Let's be honest.
So yeah, it's I think just because of Duke and the expectations and the noise that's getting louder now, since they won that title 10 years ago, they've had 32 5-star guys, several first round picks. They have 0 Final Four wins. Since that title they won with Julia Okafor and Tyce Jones. So yeah, it's the noise is kind of getting louder with that program and like what they're going to do here, but they're in good shape. I mean, they're recruiting well. They got those Boozer twins coming in who I'm not really sure how they're going to be. And the ACC, until further notice, is still a terrible league until they can find a worthy adversary in that conference. They're still in a good place.
There was talk about Jay Lucas flipping those Boozer twins to Miami, by the way. Is that still on the table? Or
I don't think so. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen much of that, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it's because Carlos Boozer played at Duke, it's going to be hard probably to get them to move. But yeah, overall, it's just a tough way to go for Duke. If they were beaten by 15, I think obviously this is a much different discussion. Or if they were beaten on a buzzer beater, but yeah, just the way this unfolded and everything, just for them, inexcusable, and they'll certainly have to answer that for a while.
Just unbelievable. And I mean, dude, you could feel like in the building, like the swing of like it felt like the Houston fans could never really get into that game. Like there was never really like a moment. And then it's like like that last 10 minutes or so, it's like you could just kind of feel like the storm brewing, but like Houston could never quite get close enough. And then like the last 2 minutes, it's like, oh, like holy shit, this is happening. And like you just like felt that place like come alive, because like there's a ton of Houston fans there, and I've like most of the Auburn and Florida fans who were also there were rooting for Houston as well. So like between all the Houston fans there and that, like it's definitely a pro Houston crowd, and it's like the crowd was kind of out of it most of that game, and then you could kind of like just feel the crowd start getting into it. And I need to give a shout out, by the way, like to Houston fans in general, like all day Saturday, like on the Riverwalk and in the stadium at the game, one of the nicest fan bases I've ever interacted with. It like did not have an interaction with a Houston fan that wasn't positive. Just like didn't see Houston fans acting like assholes or arguing with people or bitching during the game or anything. Like just like first class group of people, the Houston fan base there. I needed to give them their shout out, because like I don't know a lot of Houston fans, and it's like even I saw them play Auburn a couple years ago, and there weren't a lot of Houston fans there. But like, what a fantastic fan base, and I was blown away. Like that was like salute to them. Great fan base they have there for the Cougs.
Shout out Jim Nance. He had tears in his eyes at the end of the game.
Or they need to let Jim come back and call the game tonight. Like,
Elvin
Travis,
Hayes.
you were not watching, but Iron Eagle was just not Jim Nance. It's not the same. Yeah.
yeah. I don't doubt it. Oh, did you guys see freaking them like Hakeem Olajuwon after the game try to like go celebrate with the team, and the fucking security wouldn't let him on the court? Like, are you like are
let
you
him
out of
on.
your fucking mind? Do you know who that is? Like,
that's like not letting freaking Gene Katie celebrate when we went to the Final Four last year.
Well, like, is there not one voice of reason?
Yeah.
Is there not one person?
Yeah, Drew Brees or Gene Katie or anybody like that,
Is there not one person working there that's like, hey, that's fucking Hakeem Olajuwon?
Yeah.
Like,
it's in freaking San Antonio. Like, no excuse.
Yeah.
Like that was insane. Like I just needed to mention that. But yeah,
I don't think they'll make that mistake tonight if Houston wins. So,
but yeah, the Houston fans though, like I said, the awesome fan base, great group of people. Like I needed to give them their shout out. Yeah, I didn't know a lot about Houston fans, but fantastic fan base.
Did they do their chant? The
whose house?
Version?
Cougs house?
No, they say it's the Mighty Cougars, but they say something. Talking about the motherfucking Cougars.
Oh, I did not hear that one. No,
that one.
No,
you didn't hear that chant.
I'm not familiar with that chant.
I mean, the students were down like on the field, like behind the basket, so I didn't really hear the students, but so they might have. But yeah, that no, dude, like you said, that one's gonna sting for Duke for a while. Like, I am so glad that that Duke loss took a lot of the sting of our loss away. So I was like, we just got beat. Like, we did not collapse. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad. Like I said, like you come out of this, like nobody was talking about Auburn after this. That definitely made it feel better. It was just like, hey, props to Auburn, but this Duke game.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, that was insane. But yeah, I guess you guys got anything else you want to add on that one? I hope Malawatch is good because
he maybe is getting head back on
yeah,
a plane to South Sudan.
I hope not. But I saw that stuff come out today. That was rather, and I mean, if he knew about that before the game, I just wanted to I don't want to get too much in the weeds on that, but like, you imagine like if he knew about that like before the game and you can imagine why he didn't play his best game if he had that looming in his mind, because that was concerning stuff there. Like, I genuinely hope the best for him because I saw that today and I was like, that is awful.
He'll be a lottery pick, so he'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see. I like I said, truly hope the best for him. I mean, but in general, like I was looking at a mock draft yesterday. We're talking about how good this Duke team is. Like, there's 6 players on that team projected to get drafted.
Yeah.
Because like I didn't even like Isaiah Evans is projected to be like an early 2nd-round pick, and he didn't even play. Like,
I know.
because like yeah,
Who's
like
the one
Flag's
who
obviously
torched
Flag's
Auburn?
gonna get like yeah, that's like the only decent game he had all year. But like Flag's gonna play.
I know. Yeah.
Like Flag's gonna get picked, Khan's gonna get picked, Proctor, Isaiah Evans, as I said, Malawatch, and one more. Who am I missing? Somebody else was projected to get picked. Help me out. Who did I miss?
Evans.
I said Evans.
Knipple.
Evans, Knipple, Flag, Proctor,
James.
Malawatch, and James. So 6. Yeah, so 6 draft picks off that team. But
yeah,
man,
crazy stuff.
Yeah, that one's gonna hurt for a while for Duke fans. That is brutal. But all right, well, you guys ready to talk about what we're gonna see tonight?
Mm-hmm. I think we've covered the 2 Final Four games adequately. So yeah, where do we want to? Do you want to just preview the game, or just go sort of talk about it, the matchup, and then pick our who we think is going to win?
I just know I'm gonna be hurting watching that game tonight because I'm gonna be like, damn.
Yeah, that's
should still be in San Antonio right now, and I'm at the crib.
That's how I felt watching the dang Houston and Tennessee game in the Elite Eight.
Well, I'm taking Houston in this one. I don't know. I don't know how I can't. I don't have it in me to pick against Houston after that game on Saturday. I don't know. Like, the fact they're an underdog, like after that, what they did to Duke on Saturday was shocking to me. I don't know if that's shocking to you. Granted, they are a 1-point underdog, so it's basically a pick 'em either way you frame it. But like, I was shocked that Houston's an underdog here after they took out Duke. I figured it would at least open as a pick 'em, but it opened with Houston plus 1.5, and it's sitting at 1 now. So like I said, not like a big underdog or anything, but like the fact that people are still kind of leaning Florida, I'm like, I don't have it in me to pick against them after that game.
I'm not shocked that Florida's the favorite just because of how Florida's offense has been operating. So it to be a slight favorite, I mean, this is going to be a barn burner either way.
Dude, well, you talk about how Florida's offense has been operated. Duke has the greatest offense of all time at KenPom. the number one offense and offensive efficiency of all time, and Houston held them to one field goal in the last 12 and a half minutes. So you want to talk about how an offense had been operating. Well, they just held the greatest offense of all time in the Ken Palm era to one shot from the one basket from the field in the last 12 and a half minutes on Saturday.
You bring that up, but I mean, Todd Golden is 100% a better coach than Shire. So I think that's where it comes down.
Yeah, if Duke had Walter Clayton, they win that game type thing. If they had any guard who could like create or do anything, they probably would have won. I do think I will probably take Florida. Just like I'm not trying to be captive by the like what happened with Houston and Duke. While that was itself like unbelievable what Houston did and everything, I don't know. I just think that Florida is able to, like the biggest thing is going to be like, and the big thing for Houston was like, do not let Duke get in the 70s. Like, can you keep them, under 70 points? And I think that's probably the same kind of formula they have for Florida. Like, if they make sure that Florida is under 70 points for this game, I think that favors Houston. If it goes over 70, I think that more or less probably favors Florida. They got serious big depth. I would be surprised if Florida got in any kind of foul trouble against them. And the whistle's going to be huge. Like, you'll probably be able to tell within the first 5 minutes of the game if Houston's going to be able to play how they want to play. If they're not, that would be very disappointing, and it would change the calculus completely for the rest of the game. So I will take Florida. I'll take Florida. I'll say Florida wins 72-73, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, well, and another factor in this game is going to be, like, there's already a lot of Houston fans in the building on Saturday, and now, like, this being the national championship, like, there's going to be a lot of Auburn fans and a lot of Duke fans who were hoping to see their team play on Monday, didn't make it, already had tickets, who put their tickets on sale at a loss just to get rid of them because their team's not in it. You know who's going to buy those tickets up? Houston fans, the ones that are 3 hours down the road. Like, for all the Houston fans that were already in San Antonio for Saturday, there's going to be a lot more that are going to make the haul over from Houston on tonight to go see them play. So like I do think that's going to be a big advantage for Houston. That I think this will be a like very partisan Houston crowd tonight, and like that's going to pay dividends just for the momentum. Having the home fans, like we all know that's going to influence what kind of whistle you get. Having the home crowd, like we've seen that a million times in sports. And
yeah, it's tough. I mean, like, what do you think the disparity was in fans when Auburn played Florida?
I'd just between Auburn and Florida, or like all four teams.
Like I think the Auburn Florida game,
it was like I'd say like 70-30 Auburn.
Like, so I mean, like I don't think that Florida will be fazed by the crowd particularly because they've already kind of battled the crowd before. Like, I don't think that's gonna phase them as much. It just I truly think it's gonna come down to like if those refs are gonna be like, we are gonna let Houston and Juwan Roberts and Tugler just play full on tackle football or not. And if that's the case, then they're in really good shape. So should be fun though. I mean, this is I would say like biggest not discrepancy, but it'll be decided like Florida and Houston's backcourts. Those are the guards for both teams. Those are their best units, and whether it's going to be Clayton, Richard, Martin, or Cryer and Roberts and Sharp for Houston. That's those are going to be pretty big areas for them, and yeah, I would say that's probably where that game is going to be decided. Like, if the Florida guards dominate, then it's going to be really hard for Houston because they don't have a lot to counter that with. But yeah, if it's another like 25+ point game for Cryer, they're making their threes, and they just the inside of the floor, the paint area is shut down in Florida. That would be be a pretty big deal there. So ultimately, I still think Florida's really well equipped to take this. They'll have the best player on the floor. They'll have the best guard in the game. They will not struggle to get off good shots. They will not struggle to get good shots because of him. And if Houston doubles, someone will be
Everybody
open.
struggles to get good shots against Houston, though. Like,
True, but I don't
like
think that they've seen a guard like what they are about to see. I mean,
Shooter like Clayton.
the only team that did not really struggle to get off good shots against Houston was Gonzaga. And Gonzaga almost beat them, and they put up 76 on Houston. So the formula's there.
well, they saw Braden Smith, who was also one of the best guards in the nation,
yeah.
and
He
Braden
did a
Smith,
lot of stuff off. He didn't
I,
even shoot great, but he freaking made shots
but
created offense.
yeah, I mean, I was about to say, Braden Smith, I can't remember how many he finished that game with, but he didn't have his greatest scoring effort in that game. But he was played one of the best point guard games you've ever seen, dishing the ball out and creating for other guys.
Sure.
But they did, I think
he
they
had
did do a good
15
job
6.
minimizing Braden Smith's scoring in that one.
Yeah, and I think Braden Smith is an easier assignment for Houston because in their eyes, Braden Smith is going to go after Bobby Hurley's record for assists. You really just have to shut off the shooters for Purdue, and we've talked before about the supporting cast for Purdue not being good enough, the bench not being good enough. For Florida, that's not the case. So they could shut off Clayton, but he's still capable of perhaps not playing the kind of Braden Smith passing game. But Clayton's just going to get good looks for himself and get good looks for other people. So it's going to be hard. And when he's scoring at a clip he is, if he gets 30, I think they're going to win. I don't think if he gets anything over 25 points, I think Florida, that would probably mean Florida won. So it's basically if Houston shuts down Clayton, they full on deserve to win. I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that they'd be the first team to do that. And yeah, that, either team would be a very worthy national champion. I just think that highly of how Clayton's playing right now. And, the way he's scoring is just he is an NBA guard playing college basketball right now. And just the off platform shooting, just it is he's not Steph Curry, but it looks very Steph Curry-ish. But yeah, he's out of his mind. And if they can shut him down, then they deserve to win. Houston is the deserved national champion if they can somehow find a way to shut that down. But I do think Todd Golden is that good of a coach that, they're going to offensively, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue for them. So we'll see. And the biggest thing by far is, the tempo battle is going to be a big one also. Florida really sped up Auburn when they probably were not ready to play that way. And if Florida can really speed up Houston, then that makes the game an entirely different equation. Gonzaga did that to Houston, and Gonzaga does not have the same bigs, the same type of horses that that Florida has probably, and they certainly don't have a Clayton. So if Houston can, control the pace of that game, I think that whoever's controlling the pacing, I think that benefits them greatly the most.
Florida was not really able to speed up UConn or Texas Tech though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's one thing they have had to play kind of more methodical teams in this tournament, in those two, and they did not do a great job speeding those two teams up, and you saw that late in the game where they really needed to pull a rabbit out of their hat to win both of those matchups because they did kind of get drugged down into the style that both UConn and Texas Tech wanted to play against them.
Yeah, and it still factored in, later on. You're right. They didn't for the first 35 minutes of the game. The last 5, they kind of turned it on its head, and they put up 77 on UConn, and they put up 84 on Texas Tech there. So it's, they were under control for that entire game, and then the Clayton show turns on, and there it is. The rest is history. So yeah, I think that's that's going to be biggest factor there if Florida can speed them up, and if Houston on the flip side can do something to slow Clayton down, because just nothing anyone has tried has really worked for the entirety of a game.
Oh, you gave yours. You said 73, 72 Florida. I'll go. And Jacob, I'm sorry because I heard you trying to get in there, but I was saying I'll go 69, 66 Houston.
I guess I'll give my score prediction. I think I'm gonna take Florida. I'm gonna go 70-68. I think it's ultimately going to come down to Walter Clayton versus LJ Cryer, who can get the most points for their team. And I'm going to give the edge to Walter Clayton Jr. there. I think what I love about this matchup, I think it's the two most disciplined teams in the championship. You've seen them win games where they didn't look their greatest, and yet they found ways to win. Florida with UConn, Texas Tech, even Auburn. You see the same with Houston over, Purdue and Duke, and they just kind of they're two teams that I think have been on a collision course since the end of the season, and I think it's going to be a great national championship.
Yeah, it's a cool matchup. Cool matchup. Best team, in my opinion, in Florida versus the toughest team to kill in Houston. That's I think we've talked about before the season, before the tournament started, Florida might be the best team, and Houston is just a motherfucker to deal with. And, good luck killing them. So for that, and we didn't talk about it before, but it didn't really come up versus Auburn. The free throw shooting for Florida could be an issue in killing Houston. That might be one where instead of where they allowed Duke to play out those possessions, I do not know if they're going to do the same thing to Florida. They might put them on the line, try to make them beat them that way, because if Florida were to have a weakness as a team, that would be it. It was free throw shooting.
Yeah, it's one more thing I wanted to ask Matt about, unrelated to that game, but anything else on the game before we call it a wrap?
I think that's pretty much all I had.
Matt, I did want to ask. I talked about it with Jacob. I know you're a lot more smarter with legal stuff than I am, and not speak for Jacob, but he probably say than he is too. I'm definitely not a expert legally. With the House settlement review today for the NCAA, and how it's like the potential revenue sharing that's come, I was just wondering, is it like reading through the tea leaves, what's this looking like? Is this thing going to pass? How's that going to change? I'm having a hard time deciphering what a lot of it means. I'm sure you've been keeping up. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think is coming down the pipe here based off how that's going? Because it seems like there's been a lot of back and forth. We had Livy Dunn testifying.
Yes, if you read through that kind of stuff, it almost reads through like a TV sketch or something. I don't understand how I'm why is this woman testifying? Not that anyone really hates to hear her talk or anything, but I don't know. That's the whole thing is kind of crazy. It's not done. It's not the last of it. It's definitely not going to be the end of the road for that yet. I would say that in reading a lot of it, it definitely it's going to change some things. Anytime you incorporate revenue sharing into anything, it's going to change the landscape of a few things. I think for this settlement, I don't think the effects will be felt immediately. I think the schools, it's going to be a mess how they're going to decide, because effectively this means that if this does get passed, if this is approved kind of thing, it will mean that the schools can directly compensate athletes. And how they're going to decide to do that is a total and complete mess. So essentially, I don't think it's going to change that much. I still think the NIL is going to be the biggest pull of cash for all these schools. I think they're going to have to cap the pay that is one thing I could see coming. They're going to have to cap the pay that the schools can distribute to the athletes themselves.
Well, it sounds like that's a whole nother like antitrust issue. Like if they do cap it, that's going to come up, and then like there's like the whole thing with the roster limits that seems like it's been a big debate too, where like they're going to try to grandfather current players in, but you're going to have like the roster limits coming up, and that's another antitrust issue.
Yeah.
I saw the judge said like they need to make a collective bargaining agreement with the student athletes, which Jesus Christ, like
Yeah.
yeah, it seems like there's a lot here, but like and the biggest part of it though, and I think like why teams have been scrambling to get deals done in the last week before this goes through is that so there's that third party company. I can't remember what the company is, something with a D, where like they will have now like a independent clearinghouse that will review any NIL deal over $600, which is going to be every NIL deal.
Correct.
And what like has anything with the NCAA ever been quick and like easy and efficient? And they're going to review every single NIL deal for every sport.
So I do think part of this is good for the NCAA. I think that the way the NIL stuff was heading, it basically was in a situation where the NCAA was just completely obsolete. I think that this kind of gives the NCAA like more authority that they have kind of been lacking in recent years. I do think there are probably some people over at the NCAA that are not going to hate the idea of still having a hand in this and being able to decide and litigate some of this stuff. So yeah, it's a total mess still. And I mean, I don't want like the only thing that's going to change per se is like the student athlete tag is going to be gone. That's no longer going to be something that you hear or see anymore. And you're going to see a lot more battling over the TV. Like it's going to be similar to how it is with college football with the TV rights stuff. So there is the potential, I would say now, for like serious basketball related realignment. I think you could see some of those Big East schools, especially, are going to be there for the taking. And some of those schools could be like, there have been rumors for Big 12 for years that they could be interested in Gonzaga or UConn. So yeah, it's going to be tough. So I do think it's going to be like very similar to, as far as the TV stuff, that's, I don't know where some of these, like, I'm just concerned about how the NCAA tournament goes because I really don't want that to fall to ESPN. I do not want them getting anywhere near that on the men's side. So, yeah, it's just, it's a lot of back pay that they have to pay. First of all, that's mainly what the settlement was for. It's going to be almost $3 million going to the athletes over a 3-year span.
Billion.
Like 2016 to 2024 or something, and it's going to be a lot of back pay, so they have to pay out that in settlement money. And then going forward now, I wouldn't expect anything to like change horribly. There's a lot of Title IX stuff in there that's going to be horrible as well.
I guess the judge, like they like somebody tried to like appeal on the basis of Title IX, and the judge like didn't want to hear that shit. It sounded like.
I mean, people are gonna that's probably going to be the biggest like issue that comes from this is the Title IX issues. Especially because literally every school is going to have like more resources devoted towards men's sports and women's sports, and obviously they're going to make significantly more money on the men's game or on the men's game than the women's game. So yeah, it's the terms of the deal are set to start on July 1st, I think. So it's I don't know. I mean, there's still so much unknown. I haven't read through all of it completely, but it is headed towards collective bargaining. It is headed towards the athletes being considered employees. And obviously, Charlie Baker is going to come right back to Congress for limited antitrust exception or exemption, excuse me. That would basically just protect the NCAA from what will be a predictable amount of lawsuits. So, yeah, it's not over and it's not solved. So it just creates more potential issues, and they're probably going to have to institute something to make it so the athletes cannot unionize, because that's going to be the biggest pain in the ass. So, yeah, they're going to have to
Well,
collectively
didn't
bargain
one of
with.
the Ivy League schools already unionize?
Yes, Dartmouth, I believe it was
They
Dartmouth.
have a union. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Dartmouth.
they had a union, and that's a very risky. I don't agree with that. I'm not not to dig into the political ramifications of unions and everything here. I think that's extremely risky for college athletes, because once you're unionized and once you're an employee, they could fire you. Like, they could just get rid of
Yeah.
you. In theory, they could be like, you're done. Like,
Well,
you're out of a
and
job. So
and that's what I was gonna say too. With if this does turn into collective bargaining, that could be a good thing. Where it's to me, that's the problem with with NIL and the transfer portal is all this bouncing every year from school to school. It's no, you should have a contract, and this
yes,
you're here, you have to you're gonna get this amount of money. But to do this, you have to fulfill this obligation in the deal. You have to be here for a certain amount of years,
it's gonna be
rather
2
than just
years. Yeah,
Hey,
it's probably gonna head
mhm.
towards 2 year deal.
which I'm absolutely in favor, because I'm all in favor of transferring and give it, but this just every year, and you got guys who have played for 5 different schools, and that's that's the shit that I'm ready to see get curtailed and all this.
Yeah, AJ Store is going on his I don't know what we're doing here with him. He entered the portal again, and he's just
Well,
on his 8th school in 8 years between high school and college. So he
TJ
just
Finley,
yeah, what are
shout
we
out,
doing here?
shout out TJ Finley for stealing a car.
who was who was it last week? Sorry, I'm blanking. Who's the guy who's flipped back and forth from South Carolina and Ohio State?
Oh
Oh,
yes,
Johnson,
yeah,
Michi Johnson.
Michi
Yeah,
yeah.
Johnson.
That's
he's just gone
that's
back and
incredible.
forth from South Carolina to
Yeah,
Ohio State.
guy
What
keep
are we
making his mind.
doing?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're going to be employees and this is going to be collective bargaining now, then yeah, a lot of these NIL deals, they're going to be employees. Therefore, these should be contracts, not But then you get the whole fucking rabbit hole of well, coaches have buyouts in their contract and they can leave. So then will the players have buyouts in their contract? So if
Yes,
X
some
player
will.
has
Some will. I
so
guarantee
X
you, some
player
will.
at fucking wherever Northwestern has a 2 year deal at Northwestern with a buyout in it, and then Indiana comes in and they could buy him out of his contract at Northwestern. So it's
Probably, yeah. It's heading in that direction, maybe. I still don't think that'll happen. I don't think you'll see buyouts, but people will ask for it. People will demand, because there's gonna have to be some way to get out of your contract. Um,
Well,
because
and
otherwise,
that's if they do have contracts, you already know the first time a player tries to transfer and gets
they will
told
be
no.
sued immediately for
Yeah,
breach of contract, and it'll be a
it
mess.
and Jay Billis will be up. Oh, well, the coach can get out of his contract. Why can't he get out of his contract?
Yes,
The
yeah.
coach's portal is always open.
Yes. Well, that might try to see the difference here if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do your best to see the difference. So, yeah,
The
that's a
coach's
plus.
portal is always open. He
Oh
really thinks
yeah.
he's cooking with that line.
Yeah. That was a fun thing before the transfer portal was a thing. So, yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that seems like it's a lot of. So all in all, you think this is going to be a positive though, or
Positive for the athletes maybe. I do think that if they do get to a situation where they have players under contract, I think that'll be good for the sport. I think that'll be the sport desperately needs some more continuity at the biggest programs. Like we've talked about Duke before, how they're going to have an entirely different team. I think that would probably help that program if there was just more continuity in it, and just yeah, I think that part will be good. I think that part, if they do kind of get those guys like 2 years here, yeah, I think that'll help quite a bit. So I've also always thought like a kind of restricted free agency model would work better for them. If they could get to that point where, like in the NBA and the NHL, they have restricted free agency where a team can make you an offer and then you have the opportunity to match that offer to keep the player. Feel as if that might help college basketball as well with some of this stuff going on. But ultimately, like, I think that's what people have been wanting. They've been wanting guidelines. They've been wanting answers. They've been wanting some form of rules. I think they're getting closer to that with this settlement. So, yeah, I think overall it definitely provides, it's more confusion, but I think it will definitely down the road be positive.
Side note, have you guys heard the number that Duke has to spend on their roster?
It's the same as
I have
last year.
not.
It's like $20.5 million. Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jesus. Like, yeah.
Well, think about it. What else are they spending on? They're not spending on football. So, like,
They let
it's all
their whole
going to
roster
basketball.
go.
Yeah, that is insane. But
Actually, I take that back. They paid Darian Mensah from Tulane in football.
Yeah. But he probably didn't cost, like, very much. But, yeah, Duke's not competing for, like, college football playoff spots here or anything. So, there are no expectations at that football program. So, yeah, they're, basketball's getting all the money. So, it makes sense.
well, it'll be interesting to see how all this stuff turns out with the house settlement and everything. But definitely wanted to talk about that a little bit and ask you about it. But yeah, before we get you guys, the crown. It's gonna be
Congrats to
here for a
Nebraska.
long time.
A long time. This one's going to be around forever, Jim Jackson. Nelly Jr. Joseph will be here next year.
Shout out the
And everybody, you'll always remember the first champion, the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
It's so fitting. It's them also. They can't win a tournament game ever, but
The only Power 5 program
they got
that's
the
never won a
crown.
tournament game.
It's going to be around for a long time, I'm sure. Yeah.
Are you listening, King J Hip, from the LTC Discord?
What?
He's a Nebraska fan. Tried to shit talk because they won the crown last night.
Oh, yeah.
I think I would probably hold off on the shit talk from the crown. Yeah.
Yeah. You gonna get your fucking crown champion merchandise?
Yeah, I would rather be like in the first 4 in the play-in games for the 16 seeds than win the crown, probably. It's $300,000. I mean, the McNeese manager is going to make more than that in NIL. Where is that? How is that going to help anything? They have got to up the prize money for that to mean anything.
Aura's in the portal right now, so
yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. We were talking about merch, like they had all the they had like a tent selling like all the different teams' Final Four gear, and it just had all the Auburn stuff 50% off, like right after the game. I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is cool.
That's disappointing. Yeah,
I gotta take the Alamo Final Four shirt. That's pretty cool. So got that one to rock at least. But yeah, congrats to the Huskers on the crown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dylan Rail will be sporting crown champion shirts pretty soon here. Yeah, for Nebraska's football. Yeah.
Is Hoiberg just like walking around with like a big crown on, or like what?
Yeah, I wonder if that buys him any more time there. Just be like, well, we are the only champion of the crown, so.
How funny would it be if they won the crown and they just fire him right after the crown?
Yeah, just like, congrats. Right. Well, yeah, what if Villanova won the crown? Yeah, like, what did they have done?
Who was coaching the crown for Nova? I didn't see.
He actually did a really good job. I forget who it was. But it was, I think, the associate head coach. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but he did a really good job there.
Like, is he going to be on Willard's staff, or
I
is
have
he
no
just
idea.
hanging around to coach the Crown?
I have no clue. But I would have enjoyed hearing, like, Kevin Willard walking into a Crown-winning team.
I mean, it's just like, I didn't watch it, but, like, I saw UCF was in the championship, and, like, UCF's best player is already
He's in the
committed to
portal.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already committed to Auburn. Like, he was in San Antonio, like, hanging out with Auburn fans this weekend, and, like, that's their best player. So,
They're like half those teams. Yeah, like, what are we doing here?
But yeah, the Crown was awesome. But all right, I guess we'll call this thing a wrap, and we'll go crown a real champion between
There you go.
Houston and
Yeah.
Florida. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Y'all want to hop back on here tomorrow and
Sure.
do a championship recap?
We can do one.
Maybe a season finale. I don't know. Maybe we can drum up some stuff to talk about in the off season. Go like once every couple weeks.
Portal recap.
Whatever. I'm sure we'll get one or two surprise coaching retirements to talk about. Feels like we get those a lot now, so I'm sure somebody at some. Well, you're gonna get I will guarantee. I what big name coach? I don't know, but you're gonna wake up one day in May on a Wednesday and get an ESPN notification.
Oh, yeah.
That like
Izzo's the most likely, I think. If I had to put money on
fucking calling me.
Izzo would probably be Izzo would be the one coach for me that I could see being like, yeah, I've had enough and gonna retire here. But he's him or Bill Self, but I don't see either of them leaving.
I could see someone going to the NBA.
Fucking people calling me, damn it! Like I was trying to wrap this thing up, and but yeah, I was saying, I'm sure we're gonna get a notification at some point at a very unexpected time that a big name coach retired. If it feels like that's been happening, so yeah, but point stands. Like, yeah, we'll try to find some shows to do throughout the off season, whether it's once a month, twice a month, as we can find some stuff to do. I think it'd be fun to keep it going, but we'll do one more real one after recap the Natty tomorrow night. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in all season. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you guys coming on to talk about it, and let's see who takes it tonight. Hopefully we got a great national championship. But thanks for everybody tuning in, and enjoy the game tonight.